I was going to do Angel's Landing. It's 2 hours from where I was staying, and I thought, you know what, I'll do that. And the canyon just kept calling me back. I just kept going back and back and back to South Kaibab. I'm like, I have to do this. I can't escape it.
You're listening to the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, the voice of Grand Canyon hiking. Presented by hiKin, hiking packs and gear built to help you hike your best hike. Here's your guide, Brian Special.
Well, last-minute rim-to-river hikes in the Grand Canyon are typically frowned upon, but hey, if you already got the fitness for it, if you've done the research so you have an idea of what it takes, and especially if you're traveling from the other side of the globe, well, why not, right? This was the predicament facing Shannon Stirling of Sydney, Australia, as he was invited by friends on a trip to Las Vegas with barely a month's notice. For a husband and father of two running his own maintenance business, that kind of spontaneity seemed a bit much. But fortunately for him, his wife, Kirsha, happened to be standing right there as he spoke with his mates. This is the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, powered by hiKin. See our front access hiking packs inspired by and born in the Grand Canyon at hikin.club. That's HIKIN.club.
I had a couple of mates come to me about 5 weeks ago, and they were coming over to Vegas. One of their friends dropped out, and they said, do you want to come? And I said, look, I don't think I can do that without the family. And my wife overheard me saying that, and she goes, Shannon, what are you talking about? It's a great opportunity. Why don't you go with them? And cut back real short to last year. I hit 40 last year, and we went to Yosemite National Park, and I set myself a goal 10 weeks out from that to do an accomplishment, to do something for myself that made me feel worthy and give me a bit of purpose, and that was to summit Half Dome. I made that happen, and that just gave me this unbelievable drive that we're capable in doing things if we put our mind to it. So fast forward to now, as soon as the boys asked me if I'd come along, my first thing was I didn't really care about Vegas. I thought about how far is the Grand Canyon. I've been there once before. We flew in a helicopter. That was sort of a honeymoon thing. But I thought, how can I challenge myself in this place? It's a wonder of the world. So what can I do? So instantly I hopped online and started looking for information and found yourself. And mate, the information that I got from your podcast, hands down, not pissing in your pocket, it helped me tenfold. Absolutely tenfold. It was to the point. It wasn't underrated. It wasn't overrated. It was exactly what you need to know. So, and it backed up with the research that I was doing. So, I straight away, I booked 2 nights at Yavapai Lodge and started planning my map and everything that I'm going to need to do it. And just, I had blinkers on, and I was going to do it. So, spoke to Coach Arnie, and I told him what my plan was, what my training had been like, and my nutrition and things like that. And he just basically set the concrete in my head that, you know, you can do it.
And you told me he called you back, right? We always talk about how Arnie will pick up the phone. Well, you're in Australia, so it might not be so easy, but you did speak to him, didn't you?
He did call me. I'd messaged him the night before, and my phone was ringing at 6 a.m. here. And I looked over and I thought, holy moly, he's calling me. And I thought, my wife was still asleep. So I called him back about 2 hours later, and I think, I probably won't get him. And he picked it up, and we spoke for 20 minutes. The guy is a true legend, and he's true to his word. Just like yourself. So, I mean, I messaged you when all this started to happen, and you replied back to me, and I felt a bit starstruck, to be honest.
Oh, please.
I just hold you guys in high regard, considering I don't really know you guys, but I hold you guys in high regard for what you do. So,
well, we're here to help everyone all around the world, in this case, on the other side of the world, in this case. So, you know, this all came together obviously very quickly. You were essentially going for a boys' trip to hang out with the fellas, hang out with your mates, I guess you guys would say, right?
Right.
So what was the plan? I mean, what did you want to do? I mean, you probably heard about the famous rim to rim hike. That's obviously not available. The classic rim to river route's not currently available because there's just so much chaos going on in the canyon right now. So how did you decide what you were going to do when you actually got there?
When I was coming back from Half Dome, I pretty much did the hike all the way back with another fella. And he'd mentioned rim to rim to me before. And as soon as this trip came up, my mind went straight back to my conversation with him. And I thought, rim to rim. All right, let's do a bit of research. And I knew that the North Rim was shut. So I pretty much just brought up maps on All Trails, maps on Google, and started just having a look, what is there, what's worthy. I wanted to see the Colorado River. I wanted to be able to touch that water and say that I've been at the bottom of the canyon.
Yeah, now you're talking.
And if I had the balls, jump in, and I did. I jumped in. I had a swim at Boat Beach. But yeah, it was pretty much this guy saying, I've done rim to rim, and it's up there with Yosemite. I don't know if you can compare them. They're two very different type of hikes, but that's where it got me going, that these trails are available in the canyon. South Kaibab I was going to do Angel's Landing. I was going to go there. It's 2 hours from where I was staying, and I thought, you know what, I'll do that. And the canyon just kept calling me back. I just kept going back and back and back to South Kaibab. I'm like, I have to do this. I can't escape it. I don't know what it was. Just Zion can be another time, but I just kept going back to the canyon.
So you decided that you were going to go down South Kaibab to the river. So ultimately, I think you decided to go South Kaibab to Phantom. And then, of course, you can't pick up Bright Angel right now because here in 2026, the Silver Bridge and Bright Angel, or the river trail connecting Bright Angel to the bottom, are both closed. So you had to go back up South Kaibab. And then I think you went across Tonto and up Bright Angel. So that was the plan right there, right?
Correct.
Had you done a lot of hiking in Australia? You're obviously you did Half Dome, so are you a regular hiker? So you're typically in shape for something like this? Because 5 weeks you didn't have time to specifically prepare for the canyon. So how did you know that you were ready?
That's a really good question. I've always stayed reasonably fit and active. My job can be quite active, but to be active for the right application, being hiking, it's very specific. So I mean, I try to get out and do hiking in our national parks and rural national parks, probably not as often as what I should be doing when you sort of up the ante with some of these longer distances. But I've been doing a few 16K ones in our national park in miles. I think it's around the 10-mile mark. So I sort of gauge myself off that. And then my training, I think, is what helped me a lot. I've been doing sort of like interval training using like assault bikes and rowers. And for example, I might do 20Ks on the bike and I'll do 2Ks. I'll hop off and then I'll do 3 sort of other exercises, X amount of reps, might be 10 reps on back squats, might be some bicep curls, it might be some push-ups, some leg raises. And then I'll go back to the bike and I'll do another 2Ks. But I'll keep my heart rate between 140 and 150 for the whole, it's normally about an hour and a half. And I'll try and do that workout and I'll change it up a little bit. And since speaking to Arnie, I actually changed up those 2K intervals on the bike and I do back pedaling for 2Ks. The next round I do forward pedaling. So I think that really helped with the legs, the joints and everything. And to be honest, once I finished at the top of Bright Angel, my calves felt used, but they weren't sore. It was a good feeling. The only part that I would say to people is train your triceps up more, because my triceps were sore the next day from using the poles. Apart from that, I actually felt really good, and I was surprised. But I was very fatigued for the next 3 days.
Yeah, so you knew that you had a certain level of fitness. You had a certain foundation that a hike like this didn't scare you. It's one of those things that you knew that you were gonna, even if you had to suffer through it, you knew you would probably be able to finish. So let's take it to the morning of the hike. You get up to Yavapai Lodge. I think you said you stayed at the night before.
Correct.
When you get up the next morning, what was the plan? Because you have to have a plan when you're hiking the Grand Canyon. What was it? How was it going to unfold? Because it never actually unfolds really the way that you think it's going to. You know, the best laid plans, but you have to at least have some idea of what you're going to do. So, what was your plan? And just kind of take us through how that day started.
Yeah. So my plan was sort of to get at the lodge at 10:30, get to bed by 11. Have a good sleep till about 5 a.m. and then just ease myself down to the Grand Canyon Lodge and get the Zenterra taxi. But stupid me didn't realize there was an hour difference in time. So I ended up getting to the lodge at 11:30.
Oh.
I think I got to bed at about 1 a.m. and I was up at 5 a.m. So, but as soon as I got to the lodge, man, I got all my gear out. I laid it all out. I double-checked it, triple-checked it. Got all my nutrition pouches ready. Everything was ready. So I just had to get up and get dressed, and I knew it was all there. So I pre-planned, where did I have to drive to park the car? I actually called NPS up as soon as I woke up and said, what's the deal with the taxi? She goes, no, it's all good. Just get to the Grand Canyon Lodge, give us a call and we'll get one there. It was there in 2 minutes.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it was the process was so easy.
And what time was this? What time was this at? Because a lot of people like to start early in the morning. Were you waiting for sunrise so that you could see down South Kaibab, or what was your plan there?
100%. I took your word for it. You said don't start too early.
Oh, good.
So I think I got to the trailhead at about 10 past 6. So I descended in a bit of darkness, but as soon as I got to Uwa Point, the light was shining. It was cracking the back of the canyon. So I think I got the best of both worlds. I didn't want to start too late and then finish late, just in case something was to go wrong, I had issues or something like that. So I sort of had to find the happy medium, and I thought a 6 a.m.-ish start would be good for sunrise, and it would give me a good finish time too, maybe just cracking darkness.
Well, I'm glad you listened to that, because I always say, of course, if you can go down South Kaibab and it's not the summertime and you don't have to worry about the heat, to be able to start down at least at first light so that you can see those views, because those are, like you just said, you started to see the sun come up around Uwa Point, and between Uwa and Cedar, for my money, is the best views in the entire canyon. And since it's one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, some of the best views in the entire world. So I'm curious what you were thinking as you saw the canyon just kind of light up in front of you. It's like you came all the way from Australia, you dreamed about this, boom, there it is, right?
It was a feeling of awe. I actually had tears in my eyes, because I'd got myself from all the way over here to in a magnificent place like this, that I'd put a lot of effort into to be ready to experience it in a comfortable way, or as comfortable as I could be. And like you say, that nothing compares with videos, photos, or anything like that. You can't really put words to it until you see it for yourself. The vast size of it. I mean, when I was going back up Bright Angel, and you turn around and you have a look back down that little valley, down past the Havasupai Gardens, it's just like, I came from there all the way down. It's sort of like, you can't believe that your legs have brought you that far. And the sheer enormity of it, I don't know, to anyone listening, you've just got to go and experience it, because there's nothing you can watch or see will do justice. I was awestruck. Every single turn you make, it's like, oh, I haven't got a photo of that. Everything is different. Every 10 meters you walk, there's a different view or it's just something. And then you see the mule trains, and I mean the girls and the men on the mules are awesome. They're always ready to have a chat. I think I passed about maybe three different trains through the day, and they were just awesome people.
Yeah, and that's fun to actually see those too. I mean, that's an iconic part of the Grand Canyon experience. So you get down past Cedar Ridge, you get to Skeleton Point, you go down the red and white switchbacks. Now you're at tip-off and about to dive into the inner gorge. So you got 2.1 miles to the river from tip-off. A good place where they got that shade structure there. I don't know if you went in there or not.
Definitely did.
But okay, you went into the structure. So you get in there. Are you kind of assessing where you're at, physically? Because I always like to say that the downhill can take as much out of you as the uphill if you're not prepared for it. So how were you feeling at this point?
Not too bad, to be honest.
So much of the Grand Canyon advice you'll find online is loud, confusing, and just flat out wrong. That's why Hike Club Grand Canyon exists on Facebook. It's a judgment-free hiking community where hikers help hikers, and where you can have direct access to Brian, Coach Arnie, and guests from this show. If you want real answers so you can hike the canyon with confidence, this is where you belong. Search for Hike Club Grand Canyon on Facebook and join our conversation today.
I just kept going back to what Coach Arnie would say, don't underestimate going down, because you can really stuff your hammies up and you can get to Phantom and go, wow, I'm stuffed.
Yeah.
The one thing that I took away from Yosemite was, so I'd never used hiking poles before I did that. And so Yosemite was the first time I used them. And they were an absolute game changer coming back down. So I used them a lot to save my knees, hammies and everything, going down South Kaibab, basically all the way to Phantom. And once I got to the tip-off, I sat down, I had something to eat, something to drink, make sure that I was keeping on top of everything regularly. And I just went, I feel really good. Like my ankles felt good, my knees felt good. It was nice to get the weight off my back from the pack, but I felt really good, and I thought I must be tracking really well with how I planned to descend. I didn't want to rush it because you want to see everything, but I felt good. I didn't have any issues. All I felt was I need to go back to the tip off once I hit Phantom. That was the scary part. That was quite daunting. But I just had that mindset of, from everything else that happens in life, my mind went, you can do this, man. We're doing it. We're here. Just the adrenaline just flows. And one big thing I will say is I always kept an eye on my heart rate. I always wanted to keep it quite low because I know if you have a high heart rate for too long, you can start building up that lactic. And that can cause big issues on a longer trek. If you hold a higher heart rate for too long, you start getting your jelly legs, you start using, your energy in different ways. And that was a big thing with me. I tried to keep it low just as I was training.
I'm curious what you thought as you started to go below tip-off, and for so long, you get your first look at the Black Bridge down there, and that's where you're going, right? What are you thinking when you start to see the river? Was it running green? Was it running brown?
She was running green, and the first thing was I turned around and got a photo of myself up the top so you could see the river in the background, and I just went, I can jump in here. And then I went, I've got to get down there. And I'm not over-exaggerating or anything like that. I literally thought, that's still a long way to go down to that bridge. But I was just...
It is.
I was just dumbstruck in the fact that I'm seeing this bridge for the first time because I'd seen it online. I'd heard about it so much on podcasts. And it's sort of like when... you follow a certain sports star for so long and then you finally get the signature or you meet them. It's like, wow. It was a bit like, wow, there's the bridge. That's the bridge that crosses the river. I don't know. I was in awe, to be honest. And then the other half of me was going, oh, I can get down there, but the hard yards will start coming back up.
Yeah, you already were telling yourself, I've got to get back up here at some point, man. But hey, you were in shape. You knew that you could do it. So you get yourself down there. You come to the tunnel, and then what was that like, crossing that bridge and realizing that you had made it to the bottom of the Grand Canyon?
It was the noise. It was the when I could see the bridge for the first time, I could hear the river. And when I got to it, you sort of get to the tunnel and I don't know, it's a weird quietness. And then you come out at the tunnel and you just hear this, I don't know, it's just an enormous, it's almost you can feel the flow. And it was, it's hard to put into words. I couldn't believe I'd done it. I couldn't believe I'd gotten from the top to the bottom. And I think it was at that very point that I went, I can finish this. I can complete the map that I did, that I made up, which was the, to Phantom across Tonto. I could do this. It probably wasn't until I got to the bottom where I thought, this is achievable. I just kept telling myself, look, if something goes wrong here, I can always go back up South Kaibab. I know it's the harder slog in terms of steepness, but it's always an option. But when I got to the bottom at the bridge, I went, no, we're doing this. So, and then, to get to Phantom and actually see Phantom, I actually partnered up with another solo hiker at that point. And so we got to Phantom together, and I walked in there and straight away I went, okay, where's the shirts? Because I need something from here. So I got myself a little fridge magnet and a pin, and I got the long sleeve shirt on. And then I sat down and got a lemonade because everybody says you got to have one. And I had a bagel. I had a peanut butter and jelly bagel. I didn't really want it, but I needed something something solid, if that makes sense. And then I just sat there and spoke to the girl at the counter for a little while, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna mail a postcard. Before I knew it, I'd already left, and I just had my mind set on getting in the water at this boat beach. So I'd actually forgotten about the meal postcard, to be honest, and it wasn't until probably halfway up South Kaibab again, or getting towards the tip-off that I thought, I forgot. That'd be so cool to be getting home, and then, you get this postcard that was mailed from the bottom of the Grand Canyon.
Well, I guess you could have gone right back down from tip-off and still done it, Shannon, if you wanted, right?
Maybe next time, but anybody that goes down there, make sure make sure you do it. I think an international postcard, I think it costs about $1.50. Yeah, it would have been totally worth it.
You were back up at tip-off when you realized that, but I want to hear what happened when you got back to Boat Beach, because you got in the water, you said.
I did. I actually didn't realize where the little turnoff was, and I'd actually walked past it, and I got back to the, I think it was like the Indian ruins that were there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hopped on the map and had a look, and I thought, oh, hang on. So I'm pretty sure I backtracked a little bit and found the little offshoot that takes you down. It's quite a narrow little trail, and I sort of thought, am I going the right way here? And then all of a sudden, you get the little beach that opens up. So I promised my son, Nixon, that I would make a video for him. So I had a little tripod, so I set my phone up and stripped down and got in the water. It was cold. It was like an ice bath, and that's not an exaggeration. It was the best feeling for my feet and body, to be honest. I just hopped in there and I laid in there for about 2 minutes.
Oh wow!
And yeah, the energy rush that I got from that was just so recharging. But you do need. I did notice you do have to be very careful because 5 meters further out, that water is flowing. So don't think that you can go and swim around in there because you can't. Well, you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, there's just a nice little eddy there at Boat Beach in case anyone's wondering, where the water is calm and you can kind of wade out into it. And I'm telling you, that water year-round is around 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Did you have any idea that the water was going to be that cold? Because you would not expect it in a desert environment like the Grand Canyon.
I knew it was going to be cold just from things that I'd heard. But I had a swim at Lake Tahoe last year, and that water was cold. This was colder. And I didn't expect that. I put my foot in and I went, oh, damn. I didn't think it was going to be that cold. I'm thinking maybe, I got to think in Fahrenheit here, maybe 60, 65, maybe if I was lucky. But no, it was 5 degrees Celsius. So what's that?
Yeah.
Mid 40s to 50s.
Yeah, it's freezing, always.
Yeah, it was a shock. And I took my time. I just put my feet in there and I'd done cold water plunges before, so I sort of know the feeling of doing it, but I didn't expect the river to be like that.
But at the same time, it's just something you've got to do, especially when you want to sit and tell everyone that you've been to the bottom of the Grand Canyon and tell yourself that, hey, when you get up to the rim, no one can take away from the fact that you've had your feet in the Colorado that day. Pretty cool.
Definitely. Nothing compares to that. Being on the summit of Half Dome, I think this outweighs it, to be honest. The bottom of the Grand Canyon, it takes a lot of effort to get there, but like the sign says, anyone can get there, but you have to get out. It's mandatory.
Yep. Down is optional, up is mandatory. So tell us what the climb out was like, because when you start going up South Kaibab, what you have to realize is that the second you cross the bridge and you go through the tunnel, the second you come out of that tunnel, you are going straight up, and it really does not stop with only a few minor exceptions. And between there and the tip-off where you were going, it doesn't stop at all. So, we're talking steep right from the beginning, right?
Yeah, it is, and it's pretty daunting. As soon as you see it, I actually instantly had that, that feeling you get in your gut before you have a race or before you're going to do something that is going to be hard. I had instantly that feeling. It was sort of those butterflies in your stomach going, it's now is when it starts. The going down, the whole thing, if you manage it well, it's quite pleasant, I thought. But as soon as you hit that, through that bridge and go, I actually had to stop for a bit. I set my music up and I just had to get into a mindset because I thought, no, this is the start of the hard. So it was hard, but I found it really rewarding because you start to see things you didn't see going down. You'd go up for 15 minutes or something, like you turn around and you can see your progress from that bridge. And it's quite amazing really when you turn around and have a look and go, oh wow, I've just traveled that much further up. And it sort of gives you an extra wind to see your progress. A lot of trails that you do, you don't get that perspective of progress when you turn around. In the canyon, I found every time you turned around to have a look at how you'd gone, you can see your progress markers as a viewpoint. And I thought that was really encouraging for me.
If you're stopping every time you need fuel, you're hiking the hard way. hiKin packs put what you need up front with a front access harness and 6 built-in pockets. That means your snacks, water, essentials are always within reach while you keep moving. Our Rim to Rim pack and Canyon Elite both carry 25 liters. The Canyon Elite gives you extra support with a hip belt. Hike your best hike at hikin.club. That's HIKIN.club.
As soon as I seen that hill to go back up, that's when the first feeling of the enormity of what I was trying to undertake hit me. Literally, that moment was, all right, what have I got myself into here?
But Shannon, you're in great shape. I mean, I can tell that you're in great shape, that you were ready for this. So what, is there a voice in your head or something that's just telling you that this is something to be concerned about? What was it with you?
Pretty much my whole life, I've always felt that I was mediocre. I wasn't good enough. I've come across people before in training, and they might say, "How you going, mate?" I'm like, "Yeah, not too bad." And you sort of elaborate, and when you do that, they'll go, "Yeah, but Shannon, you come in here, you smash the workout, you do this, you do that, you leave with all this confidence." And I said, "Yeah, but that's not what's going on inside my head." And when I've seen the first hill coming out of that bridge, I sort of went back to those moments, and I went, "You got yourself here on your own, and you've already gone this far. You've already made a massive accomplishment regardless." So I sort of drew on the not being good enough to I am good enough. And I promised my kids that I'd complete this, because I want to show them that anything's possible if you put your mind to it. Now, it doesn't have to be hiking. It can be anything. And if you put your mind to it, you can achieve it. So that's what was going through my mind. And especially my mate that was killed a few years prior, I balanced off his energy, I guess you could put it, to not let any negative thoughts go through my head and go, you know what, I'm just going to go straight back up and cut the track halfway. It made it all the better when I finished to use those driving forces.
Well, it sounds like you were thinking about your friend. Can you tell us about him and about what happened and why he was on your mind so much?
Yeah, so 3 years ago, there was a training exercise over here in Australia, and their helicopter basically crashed into the ocean and killed 4 of them. He was one of the pilots on this helicopter, and it was sort of, you spoke to him a week before it happened, and then you never hear from this person ever again. You know, he's left 2 kids behind and a lovely wife. It's just, you don't realize, like, it's very cliche when you say, you know, live today, not tomorrow, live to the second. But when catastrophic things like that happen and you lose a friend, not from sickness, just from just an instant catastrophic event, it sort of puts things into perspective a little bit. A lot, actually. Yeah, I pull from his energy to get through things that I would normally procrastinate about or not do. So, I mean, I've only been hiking properly for about 18 months, and I lean on him as a spirit sort of thing to go, "Shannon, wake up, let's do this." And that's how I got into hiking. I literally went, you know what, life's too short to be worrying about what other people think. Let's get out there and do this. And it's since changing my mindset like that, I've gone from, I did Yosemite and now I've done the Grand Canyon, and who knows what's next.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. Never know where you're going to draw that inspiration from. So you make your way back up to tip off, probably ultimately at least the steepest part of the ascent. And now you're about to take Tonto. So what are you feeling when you get yourself back up to tip off, the place where you stopped on the way down to have something to eat in the shade structure there? What's going through your mind at this point?
The first thought, I remember sitting down there, I sat down, I took my pack off, and I went, I actually got back here. I actually made it up. Mate, there was about 3 or 4 other people sitting down in there, and I was just having a chat with them, and I was just so proud of myself. I felt my gas tank was still 80% full. Then that lady finally came back, and she said, because she wasn't sure what she was going to do.
And this is the solo hiker that you had met somewhere along the way, is that right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I sort of met her at the tip-off to start with, and then we sort of met up again at the bottom once we crossed the bridge. And she goes, "Oh, what's your plan?" And I said, "Well, my originally plan was go down to Phantom, come back up to here, and cross at Tonto, up Bright Angel. And she didn't know what to do. And I said, look, I'll put it this way. If you want to hike it on your own, go for it. If you want to go back up South Kaibab, go for it. But if you want somebody to go with you along Tonto, I'll go with you the whole way. And then you don't need to worry. And from as soon as I said that, she goes, all right, I'm doing it. So we crossed Tonto together and we went probably a quarter of the way on Bright Angel. And then she just said to me, all right, you go, I'm going to slow up a bit here. Yeah, it was a really good moment where I thought I was able to help somebody without pressuring them, because there was no pressure in it. It was just, I knew she wanted to do it. And I just said, look, I'm happy to go with you on this. And it'll be all the worthwhile once you finish and go, I'm so glad I did it.
You ultimately crossed and went over to Havasupai Gardens on Tonto, and I assume you're glad you did, because that's a totally different experience being out there on Tonto.
Yeah, I totally got the concept of, if you were to do this in summer, you're going to be a fried egg, pretty much. There is there's pretty much no shade there. And the day I did it, I think the temperatures are around 80. I was okay because I'd trained recently over here in around 40 degrees Celsius here, and our humidity is so much higher. So the dry heat in the canyon was actually, I was okay, only because I've been training in high humidity. But I couldn't imagine what it would be like down there in 40-degree heat in summer. I absolutely loved it. I love the feeling of aloneness, especially when you're on a trail. You can be very one with yourself. Your mind just, I don't know, it's calming. I found it very calming, and you tend to, when you're on a sort of an easier, flatter trail compared to what you'd been doing, you can take in the surroundings a lot more without concentrating so hard on the downhill or the uphill or, how hard it currently is. So I found it quite recharging, to be honest. You definitely do feel the extra miles by the time you get to Havasupai.
Sometimes it feels like it's never going to get there, but you get to Havasupai Gardens and I probably have something to drink, and then you just look up that canyon and realize that you've got that much farther to go, 4.5 miles from Havasupai Gardens to the top. What are you thinking at that point? Because now is when it's really about to get serious for you.
So I'm pretty sure it was one of your podcasts where I think at Payday, is the chocolate bar.
Yes.
I'm sure
Yeah.
I heard you say that. And when I got to Phantom Ranch, I seen them there. And I'm like, I'm sure I remember Brian saying this, so I bought one. And I sat down at Havasupai Gardens next to the water fountain, and I smashed that.
Nice.
Yeah, filled up water, and I'm like, I couldn't move for about 10 minutes because it's a pretty big peanut bar. But I was very glad I had it because it gave me what I sort of needed. I just kept thinking, once I started heading out of Havasupai, I thought, this trail's not too bad. Like the start of it, I had in my mind, people keep saying, yeah, the start's nice and easy. It's not until you sort of get a bit higher up. And then it would have been probably, I don't know, half an hour in. And I kept looking at my watch going, there's still 6 kilometers to go. It was a grind. I've actually stopped a couple of times and I got quite emotional a few times. I turned around and had a look through the valley. The realization was hitting me that I was completing this. Something I actually thought I was overshooting for. When I was at home, looking at this map and looking the distance and the elevations and all that sort of stuff, there was many times I thought, I've overshot here. I don't know if I'll be able to do this. And I had a couple of people say to me, that's a long way, maybe you shouldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. And it was at that moment where I went, you know what? I'm never doubting myself again. I know the effort that I put in to get here, and I was doing it. But by no means are those switchbacks easy. Not after you've already done, I don't know what it is in miles, 18 miles, 17 miles maybe.
Yeah, the thing about coming out of Havasupai Gardens is that it's about a mile that you kind of just meander and wander for a while before you hit Jacob's Ladder and the switchbacks that take you up through the red wall to the 3-mile rest house. And then the climb's pretty steep the rest of the way. So how did you feel the rest of the way? And then ultimately, what was that like when you finally stepped foot on the South Rim?
So when I finally got to the first little tunnel that you go through, I had in my mind that was it. And I was just going around the corner. And I had a little bit of a bit of a breakdown there, and I'm like, I'm there, I'm almost there. And then I looked at my watch and it had 1.5 Ks to go. And I'm pretty sure I screamed out, a couple of choice words. And I had to regain myself because I don't know why. I just thought, as soon as I hit the first tunnel, I'm almost there.
You were 9/10 of a mile still from the top with a lot of steep climbing still to go.
Exactly right. So
surprise!
I think it was just fatigue and just emotion and everything playing the game. But once I got to the top, I was tempted to put the spikes back on actually because it was sort of icy and snowy. But using the poles, I found going up was achievable. If I was coming back down there, I'd probably put them back on. But funny thing is, I got to the top and there was these two ladies standing there. And the first things they said to me was, "Oh, is it muddy down there?" And I just went, "Can you guys give me a minute? I've just done 21 miles." And they sort of stepped back and they just apologize. And they go, "Oh, we're so sorry. We just bought these pizzas. Here, take them." So they gave me their pizzas. I didn't want to take it. And they go, no. We know the trails around here. We're thinking of doing it tomorrow, but sorry, we didn't realize what you've done. So they took photos for me and gave me their dinner, and
wow,
I couldn't believe it. It was, I think I stood there in the dark at the Bright Angel at the sign there. Would have been for maybe 25 minutes just to gather my thoughts and feelings of what I'd sort of done. There was nobody around. The sun had just set, so it was about 6:30 something. And I made a call to my mum, and yeah, got pretty emotional, to be honest, to have accomplished something like that. It's a pretty big deal. For me, it was.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a big deal for anyone. I mean, you just hiked all the way down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. You were in the Colorado River. You went to Phantom Ranch. You got yourself out of there. You had challenges along the way, mental, physical. I mean, it's there's just something about it. But I can't imagine that there's a much greater feeling of satisfaction than what you were feeling when you were sitting there and talking to your mom and thinking about your family and thinking about your friend who had passed away and thinking about all that self-doubt that you had going through your mind. And you just had to feel, I mean, such a sense of accomplishment. I'm thinking as you just sat there. Take us through what you were thinking as you sat there all alone with the famous, iconic Bright Angel trailhead sign right there in front of you and nobody else around.
It was a feeling of, I guess I'd never ever felt that type of feeling in my life before, apart from when I did Yosemite. That was the first time where I went to myself, you're more than what you think you are. I've got a very strong willpower or drive when I put my mind towards things. It's just that, that lack of confidence and self-esteem that always brings you down a step or two. And when I got to the top of there, I felt like I'd won a gold medal. Whatever that feeling would be like, I felt I can't wait to show the kids these photos and these videos. And as they get older, look what Dad did. And that's not to put me on a pedestal to them. It's to show them that they're capable of doing it. Anybody's capable of doing this. If you can focus and put your mind to it, anything's possible. So that's what was going through my mind, that the feeling of accomplishment and showing that, showing to mum, showing to my wife, showing to my kids, showing to, my friends that are on my social media that, hey guys, check this out. I actually did this. I'll tell you what, it's changed the way I am, the way I look at life forever.
That's Shannon Stirling, no doubt inspiring his 4-year-old daughter Phoenix and 9-year-old son Nixon, just as he had hoped to do. And Shannon took the memory of his experience one step further before he'd even left Vegas. You see, he's had a map of the route he took in the canyon tattooed above his left ankle.
I thought, what can I do to celebrate and have some sort of a milestone imprinted on me? And I just kept going back to the map. And I thought, the trail that I took, it's to sort of show the start of something big or what's to come. It's sort of a bit of like a trophy for me, when I'm 50, 60, 70 years old and, I eventually have grandkids and they go, what's that? I can tell them that's when I hiked the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, what a memory. And we will post pictures of Shannon's tattoo in our Hike Club Grand Canyon Facebook group. That's Hike Club Grand Canyon on Facebook. Just go look for it and become a member today. Totally free. Well, you heard Shannon talk about speaking with Coach Arnie, and Coach wants to talk about that meeting as well.
Hey guys, this is Coach Arnie with another Grand Canyon tip of the week. And I want to thank Brian for trusting me with you guys and hoping to add some value to your upcoming adventures in 2026 and beyond. Today's tip is a little different. We're going to talk about encouragement. We're going to talk about inspiration. And we're going to talk about trust. This podcast that you're going to listen to or have listened to about a young man from Australia, his name is Shannon, and he reached out to me a while back after listening to a Grand Canyon Hiker Dude show and was blown away and was inspired to do the canyon. So he reached out to me on Facebook, wrote me a long note, and I got back to him and we just talked about what he wanted to do. He was inspired, and I never tell anybody no. First, I listen to him. I want to listen to what you want to do, and then I want to help you figure it out. And that was all I wanted to do with Shannon. I didn't know Shannon. I didn't know how fit he was. I didn't know anything about him, but he was inspired. All I did was encourage him to put together a good plan, be thoughtful of where he was going and what he wanted to do on trails he had never been on before. Be thoughtful of the timing, everything, all of it. And we talked about his training and all the things that he'd been doing, and I thought he could do it. He had the right mindset. He sounded fit. He could do it. Now, would he trust me to stay with the plan? Would he trust me? Would he trust Coach Arnie to stick to the plan and not start doing weird things and go off on side adventures and get himself in all kind of problems? Well, guess what? He did it. And whether you hear this tip before or after the show, I believe you're going to hear it with the show. You will understand that Coach Arnie will pick up the phone. He will help you at least go over your plan and give you some encouragement and love. And if he has to, he'll give you some tough love as well. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell you no until I listen to you and hear you. And I just want everybody to understand that, because I take this very, very seriously. You know, I'm a risk taker, but the risks I take are very calculated. I thoroughly train. I thoroughly go through every tiny little piece of my plan before I execute it. And that's so important. So it may sound like I'm just a cowboy out there just going at it, but I'm not. And I want you to think the same way and take the Grand Canyon very seriously, because it's a serious place. But if you're like Shannon and you take a shot, all of a sudden you get bit by the bug, and now he is wanting more of the canyon. So what a great story. And thank you, Shannon, for reaching out to me. And thank you, Brian, for having the podcast where a guy like Shannon from in Australia can come to the canyon and have a great adventure. I love you guys. And as usual, if you need anything, just reach out. I love you.
Coach Arnie Fonseca Jr., our exercise physiologist and canyon coach. You heard him. Reach out. He will either pick up or he will get back to you. That is pretty much a guarantee. His contact information is in the show notes. Hey, stay safe out there. It was a warm winter, and it's already been a hot spring with records shattered all over the West. Take heat mitigation very seriously, and if you're hiking the canyon, use our Grand Canyon Shade Tracker at gcshadetracker.com to see when and where you'll have shade anywhere in the canyon. Doesn't matter what the route is, what the trail is. You can find out where the shade will be at any time of any day of the year. Hiking in shade is just better. So be a shade hunter. It can be a lifesaver. gcshadetracker.com. That's gcshadetracker.com. All right, that's it for now. My name is Brian Special, encouraging you, as always, to go hike the canyon. Take that first step. Embrace the journey. And when you get there, whether it's for time goals or taking your time, just hike your own hike and savor every step in the majestic Grand Canyon. We'll see you next time on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, powered by hiKin. Support the brand that supports this show at hikin.club. That's HIKIN.club.